So far as your business consists in dealing with other men, whether personally or by letter, the key thought of all your efforts must be to convey to their minds the impression of increase. Those are the words of Wallace Wattles, written in 1910 in his book, The Science of Getting Rich. It comes from chapter 14, which is the final chapter that I'm unpacking in this four-part series that I've had this week on The Science of Getting Rich. And in today's episode, we talk about chapter 14, the impression of increase. Welcome to Everyday, a New Thought. I'm Thor Chalgren. On this podcast every day, I look at a new thought, share a new perspective. As I said, I am finishing a series this week I've done on Wallace Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich. This was written in 1910 and has been hugely influential over the last 100 years. Many people cite this book, and probably many books that you're familiar with also read this before they wrote their work. So Wallace Wattles, I believe, was someone that was, if not ahead of his time, very influential. The success writer and author Bob Proctor said that if you did nothing else for 90 days but read 4 specific chapters from this book, you could reprogram your mind for success. And those chapters are 4, 7, 11, and 14. In the previous 3 episodes of this series, I talked about each one of those. So you can go back and listen to those. I'll put those in the show description. But today, I'm finishing with chapter 14, which, as I said, is the impression of increase. I'm going to read a few quotes from this and then unpack them and sort of get us to a landing place for this particular book in this series. Wattles says in this chapter, he says, "The normal desire for increased wealth is not an evil or a reprehensible thing. It is simply the desire for more abundant life. It is aspiration. And because it is the deepest instinct of their natures, all men and women are attracted to him who can give them more of the means of life." So I want to go back to the idea, and I've mentioned this before, that he's not talking about just material riches. So I think that's why he's saying the desire for increased wealth isn't a bad thing. He's saying that everyone wants increase. Everyone wants a better life. They want more abundance. They want more expansion. They want more joy, better relationships, better health. So what he's saying is people will be attracted to the person who can give that to them. So how do you do that? That's what I love about him, is he always gives you like, okay, so that's a great point. How do you do it? He says in this next quote, how you do it. He says, "Convey the impression of advancement with everything you do, so that all people shall receive the impression that you are an advancing man and that you advance all who deal with you. You can convey this impression by holding the unshakable faith that you, yourself, are in the way, i.e., moving toward increase, and by letting this faith inspire, fill, and permeate every action." So he's saying the way that you accomplish this, and this seems like a no-brainer, is if you yourself are successful and you convey to everyone that you are on the process to succeed. Think about it. We want to be around people who are successful. We want that energy to be our own energy. So what he's saying is if you look at every single thing you do and don't ever look at anything as being beneath you, do a great job at everything, and people will notice that, and then they'll say, I want to be around that person. That person has something that I want to get something from. So he's saying that when you feel that you are getting rich, and you know that you are, and again, rich as in successful in all areas of life, but he says by doing so, other people are going to look at you and think, I can do the same thing. So he's saying you have to impress on others that by associating with you, they're going to get that success for themselves. He closes this part of this chapter with a quote, and I'll just read this. He says, "No better statement of the principle of creative action can be formulated than the favorite declaration by the late Golden Rule Jones of Toledo." And here's the quote: "What I want for myself, I want for everybody." What I want for myself, I want for everybody. I think this is really the foundation to this this particular chapter is when you want this success for yourself, you should want it for everybody. You should want everyone around you to increase. And that genuine desire that you have, people will pick up on that and they'll want to be associated with you. That's the series for this week. Chapters 4, 7, 11, 14. I'm going to put them all in the show notes. I suggest you go back and listen to them. I've also put a link in the notes for how you can get a copy of this book. It's very inexpensive, short book, easy to read. I suggest that if you're inspired by this, go get a copy of the book and set out for yourself to try and read for 90 days in a row. Read chapters 4, 7, 11, and 14 and see what kind of difference it makes in your life. That's the show for today. If you like this episode, please hit like if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, thanks for watching.